I'm Deborah Fingston with Prescott Valley Public Library Adult Services. It's Poetry Month, and we did How to Read a Poem. Now we're going to do a lesson that I absolutely dig. It is fantastic, and that's the art of blackout poetry. And I will tell you, blackout poetry is kind of almost a genre in itself. It's a big deal. There are competitions in it, there's contests in it. Some people do it all the time. It's how they write. When I taught English, this was one of my students' favorite activities that we did. So let's talk about blackout poetry. If it works. There we go. All right. Blackout poetry first started when a lot of people attributed this type to Austin Lyon, and I'm probably wrecking his name, so I totally apologize. He's a writer and an artist, and in 2005, only 15 years ago, he had writer's block, which happens to all of us. Well, Austin was staring at a screen and then looked at the recycling bin that was full of old newspapers next to his desk. And he said, here I am without any words, and right next to me are thousands of them. I just love that, because to a writer, words are tools. They're ways of expression. They're ways, it's words that writers put together to express themselves. He thought he might steal a few of them, and by starting to make boxes around the words that popped out at him, he connected with those words, and then he connected them into little phrases. And when he had all the words he wanted, he blacked out all the rest. This is what blackout poetry looks like. This is a page out of a book. Now, Austin likes to use newspapers, and so you can use a newspaper front page or a newspaper article. When I taught this with my students, what I would do is I would find old discarded books, or I would go to the thrift store and I would buy a book for $1. And I would pull out one page of that book, and then I would look at that book and I would find those words that jump out at me. Here, in the flood, we don't really do much. The water dried out, and rather than repair the hole, we chose to reside where the spill occurred, satisfied with the home. Piece of poetry. Come on. All right. So, what is it? Blackout poetry is created by removing words in the text with a marker or whatever you want. And I'm going to show you some examples in a little bit where people have gotten completely artistic. Now, a purist of blackout poetry only uses a Blackout Sharpie, a big thick one, but it is evolved, and you'll see into what. They leave behind selected words or phrases to create a poem or a whole story. Here we have another. And if you noticed, we have a little archer in the middle. It says, the hunter. The air was beginning to get cold, the sun cracking, the edge of the woods unoccupied. For a moment I stood in the silent twilight. The woods and the wind rattled. I started to hear sounds of animals, the sound of fast breathing. I froze. So that's not at all what this story is about. It's what the author, what the creator of the blackout poetry saw in the words. Now, blackout poetry makes you appreciate the word. It makes words real to you. It also makes you select words easy. Not a lot of buts and ands and so's and you knows and uhs, right? Each word carries weight in a blackout poem. Here's another form of blackout poetry. And if you notice, they have their page of writing and they left a lot. They guided you through kind of the blue bubbling, okay? Our senses use more than images and symbols to see, period. I see as if looking inside the outside through the third eye in our mind. So this person guided you through their poetry with shape and movement. Beautiful. All right. Where to start? How would you even start at Blackout Poetry? First of all, take a packet of pages. Like I said, go to the thrift store and buy a book. When the library opens, buy a book from the Friends of the Library, or if you have an old book, or a piece of newspaper, yesterday's newspaper. Read each page fully. Try not to read it for the storyline because you don't want to be corrupted by their story. You want those words to be fresh. I know one person that reads it backwards so that the words jump off the page, not the story. Review each page. Review and find your anchor words. What are anchor words? They're words or phrases that stand out to you. You know, there are certain phrases that I just love. One of them is from a Carly Simon song, and I wrote it down one time because I love it. Hold me in your arms like a bunch of flowers. To me, that phrase just talks of love, right? Find that phrase or that word that jumps out at you, that anchor word. Then write that anchor word on a separate sheet of paper. Because if you write all of the words that jump out at you on a separate sheet of paper, then you can find your story. Here we go. Nothing is like I think it is. I never imagine anger is the machine that kills. Beautiful. All right, now design what fits your poem. Here, obviously, this poem might be about ocean, island, maybe some waves, maybe some ocean wind. It certainly isn't about spelunking in some black cave. Let's find out. A woman dreams on an island. A woman of happiness and comfort. A young woman, the dreamer. Isn't it beautiful? And it fits. It does not have to be all black and white. Make your own. Let it reflect your words. This person picked gray for the person. Of course, she's not, she doesn't have arms and hands. I mean, artistic, I have no artistic ability, but maybe I could do this. We see blue for the ocean. We see brown for the island. We see green for the trees. We understand it. And again, we see the clear square of word. All right, 2 more examples. Again, very colorful. And these examples draw you in to the page. Towering cumulus, terrible rain and hail. The bombardment became violent. The storm twisted cruelly. Suddenly, garish flashes of lightning. A little boy looked for a place to hide. Then, unbelievably, the tortured, ferocious sky was singing. We see the lightning, but did you see the boy? Beautiful. Then we see almost like a sunset or sunrise in a road. Leaving town like a kid on a bicycle, a small parade, on bikes with high bars, pedaled with no hands. Where are you moving? Heading for the mere mountain, the west and the sun. Why's you gonna go? It was the road we had to take, under octopus-like branches. Any more questions? Beautiful. All right. Now, if you notice something, this says a schedule, your work for next week. Well, you know what? I use this in a classroom, but why not do this at home? So, next week, why don't you submit to our Facebook page or send it to us in an email? Send us your Blackout poetry. Take a picture of it. Okay? So, find those poems or words that jump out at you. Find the story. Let's work on it. If you need supplies, you don't have to get fancy. Again, you could just use that dark black Sharpie and just be a purist. Or you can use colored pencils. I've seen paint. I've even seen paper. Here's one. The charms of enthusiasm and ignorance of the world do not desire to escape his lips. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at these 2 beautiful poems. Your mother undoubtedly would love you for life, dear daughter. How basic is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 words. 10 words. But each one of those words carries so much power. Your mother automatically stirs immense love or maybe immense anger, right? Undoubtedly would love you for life, dear daughter. Gorgeous. And then look at the beautiful picture. Then go, love your dead birth parents. Her siblings were born to pass from one generation to the next. Her brothers, with disgust for her, denounced her as both a traitor and an unsuitable. She will love, and those you seize go mad. You wretched, even good man's minds. You ignite hatred in men, for desire plays cruel games with our lives. Ooh. All right. Now be creative. Don't worry about stuff. This is simple. It's, just a vine with some flowers. Lay your hand down. Just make sure that you draw those squares around those words or phrases. Now again, a purist never really goes over a full line. If you are going to seriously do blackout poetry, this is pushing it. You want to just pick a few words per line, not the whole sentence, and never ever in blackout poetry does it go 2 sentences long. That's not finding those key words. Or a key phrase. That's being too big. All right, look at these. I love this. Blackout poetry, this person did whiteout and then some red. Ah, ha! Life is about finding light. Do you see? I don't know how well you see this, but it's light that's drawing the direction. And then here we have this young lady who's expressing herself. And if you notice, if you see, there's a line that guides you through her words. Right? And then here's the second. Express yourself. Be creative. I had a student, we did blackout poetry at the beginning of the school year, and it was wonderful. And I gave them the book from the thrift store. And she got so challenged, she decided she was going to do a blackout poem every day on a different page. By the end of the year, before the end of the year, she had finished that book, and she was so into it that she bought another book. And she decided it made her a better writer because then she valued words. And I agree with her. Again, Octopus, beautiful. Monsters we have met, villains of the undersea myth. We have met all which lives beyond our depths, still puzzled. Okay? So, beautiful. And do you see how clean it is? Got to keep doing. And then we have the yin and yang. It works with the story. Again, more samples. Look here. This is a newspaper. I don't know how fully you can see it. This is just lottery numbers. Isn't that crazy? And then, obviously, death. Beautiful. And then you can be as super innocent as blackout and a fish. Who was watching, silent, magnificent, circled, quiet? The goldfish. What I love about this one is all this is dots. That's all it is. All it is dots. I, 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 I. I don't know. Beautiful. Here we have, in the fall of the heavy rain, his beauty and laugh robbed her of air. It's gorgeous. All right, some more beauty. Again, this person not only they added a title to it. Not really a purist, blackout poetry, but still pretty good. All right, another examples. I like this one because it's wispy, right? It's not too clean, and again, they used whiteout. My moon pulling over summer, head first, round after round, billowed seasons, all hooked. I love it. And then look here. They just used color. They found their words, they circled them, and then they just used color. Not super artistic, but it's beautiful. And then there we go. I befriended the tension between the wilderness and the woman. Gorgeous. And as you see, this person found the key words, circled them, and then started building the artwork around the key words and phrases. You can do it. You can try this. So find a newspaper, magazine, an old book, be a purist, black out, be a creative, and use art. And then send us your blackout poetry. We would love to see it. Again, Deborah Fingston with Prescott Valley Public Library Adult Services. Keep your eyes open for classes and more presentations. Thank you for joining us.